Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
That's bad. 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 That's bad. 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 Bad.
Oh, holy shit. Welcome to BADAPTATIONS.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Look,
Listen.
they should feel welcome. We had to watch something that, you know.
Our entire weekend this weekend is like consumed by shitty content that we have to watch.
It really is. It's
like,
amazing.
It has to, just because of the way scheduling and time works between two adult men, like this, we have to spread some real trash over 3 days.
It's amazing.
Boy... It's like getting press ganged. It's like I forget the word for it, but it's like when the British would capture random ships and just tell the people on board, "Well, you're in the Navy now."
Yeah,
impressment, I think is what they called it. Anyway,
sure,
that's what this is.
It's just like that. And
the British Navy has hijacked our weekend, Dave, and they're forcing us to watch The Last Airbender.
Yep. And the British Navy in this case is our producer Grumblebee. Thank you, Grumblebee,
and the Fire Nation,
and the Fire Nation, yeah, for creating this podcast. This is a podcast where this is episode 2 of BADAPTATIONS, where we're going through. It's exactly what it sounds like: movies that are adaptations of other things that you would call bad. We did Ang Lee's Hulk first, which we both kind of were into. This time we're doing 2010's The Last Airbender. Written, directed, and produced, as the credits note, by one M. Night Shyamalan. This is, I would argue, the movie that put him into director's jail.
I think it was
about right?
It was. I think there was a string of movies. It was.
Yeah.
The Happening, This, and After Earth, I believe.
Yeah, that all make. I still haven't watched After Earth, and I want to.
Yeah, that's. Oof. I may not get to it now. I don't know.
Yeah. So we're going to discuss what would make a good adaptation of The Last Airbender. We're going to talk about this movie, what it got wrong. We're going to talk about what holds up. And then we're going to just talk about the movie in general. That's the structure of the show.
Yeah.
We kind of have to work around the fact that, I don't know about you, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
I never watched the original. This is based... Oh, wait. So this is a comic book turned into a series that is beloved, right? Turned into a movie that is the opposite of beloved?
We're going to make a lot of Avatar heads upset. I thought it started as a show. I don't think it was a comic first, but I could be completely wrong about that. I think it started as a animated show on Nickelodeon.
Okay, let's see.
Should we look it up?
TV series is, let's see. You know what?
I mean, we can look it up.
I don't care.
Are you gonna make me do it? All right, fine.
I'm on the Wikipedia, and I don't know, man. Okay, books. Several books based on the show has been published.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it started. Yeah, it started as a show. Then it was a bunch of series. I guess there's been video games. This seems like it'd make a good video game. Specifically the plot of, like, you have to keep learning new things to bend.
Yeah.
Like, that's an easy level up system. This is going to be a live action series, right? At some point?
Yes, and I think that's being handled by the creators of the animated one.
That checks out.
Which is a good idea. If I'm remembering that correctly, I think that's the case.
Yeah, but yeah, I want to start by apologizing because I don't know really the source material. I suspect from what I've heard, I would be a lot more angry with this film.
Yeah, I know it a little bit.
Okay.
Marina's really into it, and I've watched most of what would be considered the first season. I think they call it the first book.
Okay.
Which is what this movie is based on. I think this movie actually starts with the title card, Book 1, Water.
Right. So, yeah, in terms of our first section, what makes a good adaptation of this? I would imagine don't cram an entire season into 90 minutes.
That's certainly part of it, but I think having seen the show, even though I've only seen maybe 10 episodes, but what stuck out to me even more about, are we getting into that section right now?
What makes a good adaptation of The Last Airbender? If you were to adapt it, what would you do?
Well, I think the most important thing is the show's tone. The tone is not maybe what you would expect. It's kind of weirdly light while also being like the stakes are the fate of the world.
Yeah, no, I have heard of that. I've seen a bit of it.
Uh-huh.
It's got that like kind of anime vibe where it's like silly but not.
Right, it's silly, and it's because part of the point of the story is that the three main characters, and specifically Ong, the avatar, is a child. And like in the early episodes that I've seen, a big part of it is trying to get Ong to take things seriously because he's a little boy. He is both a young boy and also like this 100-year-old wise spirit, like living within the same body. So there's like a constant push-pull between him just wanting to be a kid and be silly and stuff, and then also having to be like this spiritual champion defender of life on Earth. So I think that's really important to maintain, and I can see why the instinct of somebody adapting it into a live action movie might be to get rid of that stuff. It's like, well, we can't have it be silly. It's got to be serious, or else people are going to think the movie is silly. And I think that's part of what happened here.
Here's what's interesting about that to me is that I feel like there's two words to sum up how, if you're making a movie version, how do you adapt this? Mm-hmm. And those two words are Harry Potter. Because this is 2010, so we know Harry Potter is a hit. They probably were imagining a Harry Potter-like success, right? That's what the studio would want. Yeah. And what's interesting is that after you saying that, Harry Potter balances silliness and seriousness. The movies, I mean. I didn't read the books. They have that silliness in there, and they have like, this is really serious, and it is about one character struggling to maintain their adolescence, their kidness, the silly world they're in, while still being adults around them being like, no, Harry, this is fucking serious. Like, that sounds exactly like what you would do.
Yeah, and now that you mention it, Harry Potter is a pretty good analog. I don't think the movies necessarily nailed this, but they do a good job of at least showing us that this is a world, you know, it's a magical world for children that is being invaded by this threat that is very adult and very serious.
Right. I would argue, of course, that like the best adaptation of this is to say, just watch the TV show.
Just watch the show, yeah. Like I could see they're making. They really speed through a lot of things in this movie where, you know, characters get time to breathe. And, you know, of course, it's a 2-hour movie. You can't have an entire season of television in a 2-hour movie. But it seems like their instinct here was to completely remove all of the humor and all of, like, the silly kidness from it. So it's just a bunch of kids who aren't very good actors being extremely serious, delivering these exposition dumps about this magical world, and that's a shitty movie.
Yeah, I also have to say it's not a 2-hour movie. It's like an hour and 40.
It's an hour 40.
I bring this up because Shyamalan had an interview about that because he got a lot of shit for it, where they're like, "Why did you make this fucking 90 minutes?"
Because he had to.
No, he didn't.
Really? That's interesting.
No, because at the time they were making like 2-hour long. That, you know, you could make a 2.5 hour.
That's true. The Harry Potters are all like 2:20 at least.
He said is he said, well, all my movies are 90 minutes. That was his response. And he was like, it was my instinct to cut it down to 90 minutes because that's the length of my movies. It's like, okay, well, that's a terrible answer. It's a lot of his response to the critique was stuff like that, where he's like, I made the movie I make. That's my style. And it's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have made it then.
There's a few things here that are like surprising for Shyamalan. Because however you feel about Shyamalan's sort of reputation for, corny twists and thrillers that end up being accidentally corny, he's usually a pretty good director.
Yeah, and you know what? This wasn't very well directed.
No, it sure wasn't, Dave.
I got studio note vibes and test audience vibes.
Yeah.
And from the behind the scenes I'm reading, that doesn't actually seem like it might have been the case.
That's so interesting because they do a lot of sections where it's just a character comes in to narrate, basically to yada yada a lot of plot development for us, which feels like stuff was deleted and then they sort of summed it up with narration. It's a thing that movies do all the time.
Right, and I don't know, maybe there is that in this, and I didn't know, but we'll get into that. Right now, we're still talking about, a series, and so I guess what it is that, so they're making a live-action TV show of this, and I'm thinking, like, why? Like, that's cool that they got the original people, and everybody's getting paid, but, like, it does feel like if you're just doing a TV series, a TV adaptation of a TV series, it's like, I don't know why you would do that.
It's they're feeding the content machine, Dave. That's all it is.
But as movies, I imagine you'd want 10 of these, and I imagine you'd want to go very slow to explain everything very carefully because you're world building. Again, Harry Potter. Obviously, they're not the same stories.
No.
But I would have immediately looked to Harry Potter and been like, okay, how did they do it? Because that's how you do it for something like this. You're entering a world of magic and bullshit and rules and questions. And you want to take your goddamn time with it.
Yeah.
Instead, they condensed a season into 90 minutes.
Just about. Like, I'm not positive, but there's a lot of story they cover. And the world building stuff. There's a lot of things that happen in this movie that the movie highlights just enough to let us know it's significant, but doesn't explain it. And the only reason I knew what was going on in those sequences is because I had seen the show.
Right. All right. Well,
so I was like, for anyone coming into this, I watched most of it with Marina, who was just very upset about this adaptation as we were watching it.
Had she not seen it before?
No, she didn't even know it existed. She only knew about the cartoon.
Bless her heart. Oh my God, she went
on a real roller coaster. She saw that it existed and got excited and was like a little bit upset that I had started it without her. But then as we were watching
and then you were
she was just
trust me.
She made a comment that was like, if I was a person, like back when this movie came out, like excitedly taking my friends to see this movie, to be like, no, you guys are gonna like this. Is such like it's my favorite show. You guys got to watch this movie with me. Trust me, you'll like it. I promise you'll like it. And this is the movie. You would seem like the biggest asshole in your group of friends. You'd feel so upset by that.
I'm genuinely sad that she had to learn this movie existed.
Yeah.
She was living in such a great world before that.
Yep.
Because I really feel for the fans, because watching this movie not knowing anything about it, I'm like, well, this certainly can't be good. This certainly can't be a faithful adaptation. Well, we should talk about what the movie got wrong. Let's get into that.
For sure. I was just going to say, I remember when this movie came out, and I didn't know anything about Last Airbender at the time when it came out. I was just like, tangentially aware of, I had seen the characters on merchandise and stuff around. But I do remember that it got almost universally bad reviews and that fans of the show were very upset about it.
Yeah.
So I knew all of that going into this movie.
Well, it's just funny because the reviews call it alienating. Like Roger Ebert called it alienating, because if you're not a fan of the show, and now let's get into what the movie went wrong. Because if you're not a fan of the show, the word is alienating. One of my biggest notes is, who is this dragon?
Yep.
Like moments like that where they basically made a movie for nobody. Because for me, someone who doesn't know the show, I hadn't read Harry Potter, and I watched the first one and it was like, okay, I know what's happening. This is the opposite. I don't know who this dragon is. I don't know who these fish are. I don't know why it's a big deal if you stab the fish. I don't know this world. Everything feels everybody feels like 45 minutes away from each other. Did you get that vibe where the world feels small?
Yeah. We really breeze from place to place and don't get a sense of. It's very last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones where.
Yeah.
It's like we go to the Northern Water Kingdom and it's like, it's beyond the reaches of the Fire Kingdom where they're practicing illegal waterbending. And it's like, boy, it seems like they're just 8 minutes away from Fire Nation.
Yeah,
because the Fire Nation just teleports there for the climax.
People run into each other.
Yeah.
In this movie, like the Fire Nation just happens to be there when they release the ball of child. They're just cruising.
Yeah.
And they see it from afar, and it was like, it feels like this world is like the size of Rhode Island. And there's no world building. There's no character, and it's kind of by design, but they needed to figure this out. There's no one who's like, what's going on? Like, there's no one to explain
everybody,
the world to.
There's no audience proxy. There's no, C-3PO. There's no, Harry Potter, and Harry Potter is us. He's the one that's being brought into this world. So that's, it starts from a place of we're already in this, and I guess it's so funny for Roger Ebert to call it alienating, because I everybody seeing this movie who hadn't seen the show would probably assume, I bet this makes total sense to fans of the show. And not really, because I've seen most of these episodes, and I get the broad strokes of stuff, but they're still leaving a lot of stuff that I don't even remember whether or not they go over it in the show. So it's we're really tapping into a lot of lore that's dense even for somebody who's seen the show.
Wow. Yeah, because
we're just gliding right past it.
Right. I can't weigh in on this in that regard of how, because this section is about what did it get wrong about adapting, but I really don't know. It just, as a film, I can only judge it by how good did it do
introducing
me to this world, and the answer is not good.
Not super good. The
bad world building.
I think the world building would have done better if they hadn't drained all of the humor out of it. As I was watching it, that's the thing that I kept hitting. That's this thing's biggest failure as an adaptation, is it drained all of the life out of it, basically.
Yeah.
All of the characters are completely humorless in this movie.
The performances all feel like they've been dubbed. Weirdly enough, it feels like a bad anime dub where they all speak really woodenly.
Yeah.
And there's no, and a lot of the dialogue is
it's bad.
It's confusing. There's the part where they find him in the ice ball and he comes out and they ask him what was his deal, and he says something like, I was just upset. And I didn't know what that meant. And then later they 10 minutes later, they explain what actually was happening there. They do stuff like that where it almost felt like Shyamalan wrote it and he refused to go back and edit it. So he would add, I don't know. And then we talked about the narration. There's no characters that are nobody, I'm not sure who to root for. The Avatar he speaks like a robot. They all speak like robots.
That's the biggest problem, because there's those three main characters, well, four if you count Zuko, are really rich and vibrant and deep characters in the show, and the story is dependent entirely on those personalities. Ong behaves very much like a kid under 10. He's goofing off most of the time. A big like I mentioned, a big part of those early episodes is like struggling to get Aang to take things seriously. It's like, dude, you got to like help the world here. Like Fire Nation's killing everybody. You got to like, be the Avatar. And he's like, no, I just want to fuck around with these penguins,
Right. And they have him say he doesn't like, it's a lot of characters saying the things and not showing it.
Exactly.
And he's like, oh, the monks told me I was the Avatar, so I ran away because I didn't want to be that. And it's a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the romance in this has to be explained off camera or narration.
That's such a good. Between Sokka, who is Katara's brother, who's kind of the comic relief character, but they take all of that away from him in this movie, and they just leave him as the worried to the point of neurotic older brother, which is part of his character, but it's balanced out by the fact that he tries his hardest, but he always kind of fucks it up a little bit. Like there's one moment in this movie that they keep, and it's Katara keeps kind of screwing up her waterbending, and there's one scene where she accidentally freezes Sokka. Like that's a lot of the show is stuff like that. It's like they're kids and they're not good at this. And like Sokka's characteristic is he's trying to be an adult, but he's like fucking it up most of the time. But they take like the heart away from the character. So it's just, he just is this dude who looks painfully worried for the entire movie. And his little romance with Yue, the princess in the other kingdom, is like really good and really heartbreaking in the show. And in the movie, we see her in one extremely wooden scene, and then the next scene she dies and he squirts her soul into a fish.
Yeah, and I'm like, why should I care?
Exactly. We have no reason to care because they didn't give us those characters.
One of the easiest ways to make people like a character, right, is to show the courtship between two characters, Leia and Han. Yeah. You show the flirting, and they just skip over it and go, oh yeah, they grew close. And it's like,
we get one extremely brief scene, which is kind of cute. It's like a cute little scene, but it's like it's prefaced with this clunky narration from Katara, like they became fast friends and spent all of their time together, and now they've grown to fall in love. And so it's like they have somebody narrate us into the middle of a cute but brief interaction between them. That's mostly the only reason it's still in the film is because Yue explains her background as she was like stillborn, and then like the moon spirit gave her life, and that's why her hair is white, and so that's why she has this connection to the moon spirit and is able to die later on in the film and revive the moon spirit. But if that bit of exposition hadn't been in that scene, I'm convinced that would have been cut, so we would have had no scenes of them interacting with each other before she has to make her sacrifice at the end, and it guts it. Like there's no heart in this adaptation, and I think that's the biggest thing that it gets wrong.
And I think it all comes down to that decision by M. Night Shyamalan to go, I want to cut it down. Like, what a bad storytelling instinct for a director. Directors are usually the opposite. They deliver like 3-hour films, and the studio is like, no, not 3 hours. It's such a bad instinct to like look at this and go, just keep cutting it down. Gotta slim it down, man. Just gotta get to the who, what, where. Like that's what he was doing, and it's like for a story like this, he forgot to make us like the characters because he apparently didn't think that was necessary.
It's like when you look
and
at
like.
Oh, sorry, you were
no.
You were
It's just it's the opposite of fantasy. He didn't expand the world. He didn't make the world feel big. He didn't make the characters like complex. He did it all. And I feel like it's all tied back to the idea of like, we're cutting this down. Because I remember clicking pause and realizing I am halfway through the film and it didn't feel like anything had happened yet.
Yeah. There's an instinct to do that in a lot of modern films, like in the last like 10, 15 years, particularly like sci-fi or fantasy adaptations like this, where the focus is on, like 12 different things have to happen. Like there's all these different plot beats that they trim everything else out so that they get through all those plot beats. But it's like, if you think about like the stuff that's done well, like a Star Wars or like a Harry Potter or like The Lord of the Rings, like the plots aren't that complicated and not a lot of things happen. Like it's like how many things happen in Star Wars? About 3. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's all about these characters fucking around with each other. Like that's that's the glue. Like that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
Or like that's the meat in the sandwich, you know, whatever.
The first Harry Potter. It's just them. Like it's just
going to school. That's
going to school, and then he has to get a stupid stone, and he sort of half meets Voldemort.
Yeah,
and then that's it. And they're just setting up mostly the world, and they have this like creepy near miss, and that's it.
Yeah,
and it's very simple because it's all spent establishing the characters so we can like them. So when when they keep making them, we'll be invested. And this like tried to do both, where it tries to end on like a sequel tease, and it's like, I think not.
Yeah,
it's like that. Who's this character? And it's like, I don't know. You didn't explain who anybody is.
She's a cool character too, so that's a bummer. Like she's like a good villain.
Would they have even explained who she was?
I mean, we know that's Zuko's sister in the movie.
No, what I mean is like.
Oh, would any of her character have survived, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. They didn't do anything to the characters in this movie. Yeah. Why should I care about this character?
Why should I care?
Teasing?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the idea of a movie that, like a Batman movie, if they butchered the Riddler and then they're like, and now here's the Joker, like the anti of the
right,
Batman,
it's like, oh boy, I can't wait to see how you fuck that character up.
Yeah, it's like, what's the point of any of this? It's just, I assume this was an expansive, big world that was crushed into almost 90 minutes.
It is, but it's
with
not even...
all the joy sucked out of the characters.
Yeah, all the joy is sucked out. And it is a big world, but like the show does it so well. It's because it focuses on those 3 characters, and you kind of get the world as the series unfolds and as they go to different villages and stuff and interact with different. It all comes out in their interactions with different characters,
right?
And because that's a good way to do world building.
It's
just it's like they sucked all that out and just left like the sterile who, what, where facts, like you were saying. Like, no, just give me just the facts. It's like, well, that's not much of a story.
But it's also just a lot of and then this and then this.
Exactly. They're just focused on the movements of like the plot beats that move the characters through the world, and it's like that's not any story. Like, what story do you like where your fucking old man sat down to read you a bedtime story and it was just there are these 3 people, they went here and then they went here and then they went there and then they went here, go to bed.
That really is what it is.
That fucking sucks. That's an awful story.
Yeah. It's life. The only character who is somewhat complex, and let's get into how does this hold up, because in terms of what the movie got wrong, I would argue the answer is everything. It got everything wrong.
Just about. There's some cool visuals in it.
Well, so yes. There are, but I would argue there also isn't.
Right, there's a lot of bad visuals, too.
Yeah.
There's a couple of cool sequences, but most of them are not cool.
Right. In terms of how the movie held up, I watched this movie when it first came out. Right?
Oh, really? You did?
Well, I watched it when it first came out on, like, DVD or whatever.
Oh, I didn't. I thought this was your first time seeing it.
No. But I didn't remember much of it, and in my mind, I remember thinking the effects and fighting looked good. Watching it this time, no. Maybe it looked good for 2010, but the fighting itself, he just blows people over.
Well,
like that's kind of it.
Yeah.
And like they all have like the Fire Nation, they all do the same whooshing fire effect. The water people, they all make the same balls of water. The rock people, they all just make rocks float. Does that make sense? Where I realized, like, they didn't really do much with the powers. They all kind of just do the same thing every time.
We get the most variation, I think, from the fire stuff, because there's a couple of different... Like, he sneaks in through the ice because he can melt stuff with his hand, and like he frees himself from an ice block by heating up his body. But mostly, it is just throwing their
element.
Their prescribed element at each other.
That's really it.
The thing that I thought was cool, well, it's sometimes cool. My biggest takeaway, like, what did you say, alienating? My biggest single word takeaway from this film also begins with an A. It's awkward. This is a very awkward movie in every sense of the word. The action is 95% of the time very awkward. The dialogue is awkward. The direction is awkward. Like, a lot of the scenes are very tight close-ups that then cut.
Yes. What was that?
Did you find the cuts like dizzying?
Yes.
How fast it cuts from scene to scene and location to location.
Sometimes from shot to shot. There's a part where, and I mean, spoilers, I will say the only thing that holds up in this movie is Dev Patel.
Yeah.
Because of course he does. When he is,
and Zuko's the best character too. He's like the most complex character.
Him and his like servant uncle, whoever that guy was. That was the most interesting part.
Yes.
And that I guess I'll say this right now. The Fire Nation is filled with a bunch of really good actors who are doing the best job.
Yeah.
And so, like, by default, I rooted for them the entire time.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, look, it's Cliff Curtis.
Like, fucking Asif Manvi being a bad guy.
Yes.
How often does that happen?
M. Night Shyamalan took all the most charismatic actors and made them the villains, and also made them the most complex characters.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I'm rooting for them because they're the only ones who feel like humans. Like, in any way, they feel complex and they have faults, and they have, like, I understand, like, the drama between them more, and they actually seem to be acting. Dev Patel, by the way, he said, like, after this, he never did another, like, big budget film. He hated this, but
he does not have kind things to say about this experience.
Yeah, but going back to the editing, when he saves the Avatar kid, and the kid, he puts him in the woods, and they do this weird cut where he's like over him looking at him, and then they cut up to the trees, and he's running through the trees. And it feels like that's another character. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he looks up, they cut to the trees, and it looks like it's his POV of, like, someone. It's a lot of that, where, like, the cuts are disjointed and often confusing. Almost, it seems like by design, where they seem like, oh, this cut's relating to this thing. But no, that's actually later. Like, moments like that where you're like, I can't follow it moment to moment sometimes.
Yeah, the movie's dizzying in its cuts for sure, and it's I don't know.
It feels like Shyamalan cut it down in the moments.
Yeah,
where, like, characters will actually, like, teleport a little in the scenes where they, like, oh, you were over there. Oh, next cut, you're over there. Okay, that's weird. Like, he was just, like, rushing it.
Yeah, and what I was going to say, one element that's cool in the show that they preserved in the movie that looks cool sometimes, but extremely awkward, that's that word again, in other scenes, is each nation, for their specific type of magic, has to do, like, a specific kind of, like, kata, I guess. They have a specific style associated with it, and it looks cool because it looks like the element. Like, I don't know what they're all called. I think the Water Nation is doing Tai Chi, but like, when you watch their movements, you can tell that, like, oh, that's air, because you can kind of tell, like, the way he's moving suggests that he's, like, building up wind, and, like, water looks like they're manipulating water, and fire looks like they're kind of, like, dancing and fire and shit, and, like, the Earth Nation is, like, heavy stomps and stuff, and that's a cool idea. And it's cool in, like, a couple of sequences, but for the first time we see it in this movie is when Aang has to escape from Zuko and his uncle dad. And what he does is he just kind of uses his air power to, like, flip over them and then run out of the room. But he has to stop and do this kata before he can flip. And it's the first time we see it in the movie, and it's extremely silly, and it looks very clunky and weird. And it's like, why don't they just punch him in the neck before he?
Yes.
Because it takes him like 4 seconds to do this.
Yes.
And then flip over them.
It takes him like 10 seconds to get out of the room, and I wrote a note about it. If, like, just run.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't he, like, because, yeah, it's that. He does, it's so bad. He does this move, flips around him, and they have to just, like, watch.
They're just watching him. Yeah.
And it's like, in the time it took him to leave, he could have just ran around them if their reflexes are that bad.
Yeah.
Yes. That I pinged that. That was very stupid.
Yeah. But I think the first village they go to, it's like a simulated oneer where it keeps cutting between Ong and Katara and Sokka, and then like you get the Earth people coming in there doing their magic, and we get to kind of see all four of them at the same time. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And then there's a sequence when Zuko breaks in to get Ong out of Asif Manvi's fortress, and he runs into that little area, and he has that extremely sweaty line where it's like, this is their practice area. But it's like this,
oh God, yeah,
this ring of stone tablets that he uses the wind to put them back into position and kind of spin them around. That was cool. That was a cool idea.
That was the most creative the movie got with the powers.
Yeah,
but for the most part, he just pushes people over.
Yeah, for the most part, it doesn't look great. But I just wanted to call out that element, which is an element I really like in the series. And the two kind of moments in the movie where it works best. A lot of the time it kind of looks clumsy, but sometimes it really works, and those were two sequences where it works.
Yeah, I mean, here's the other problem that you mentioned him escaping. He gets captured like 5 minutes earlier.
Yep.
Like, I'm not even sure why that ever happened, except to say, like, to establish that Dev Patel is saving him.
Yeah.
But they don't do anything with that idea. He goes to this area, a guy betrays him, and he gets captured. They hang him up. They talk to him for a couple minutes, and then he's immediately sprung. And I was like, well, why did any of that happen?
It's just to get the plot point in there where we see that Zuko is willing to go against his own people and his own nation to like get the Avatar to his dad so he can like reclaim his honor.
Right, but it's so sweaty.
It comes off as very silly. It's just like, he's captured and he's immediately released. So what was even the point of that?
It's also hard sometimes to figure out what people like. The part where they first find him frozen in ice, and he's like, "Don't go near it," and then she hits it, and it explodes him. I don't know why any of that happened.
Nope.
I don't know why she chose to hit the ball of ice.
Nope.
I don't know why the ball works the way it does. They don't have time. They don't have time.
Yeah, they got to cover a lot of bases, again, Dave.
Still not sure what the dragon is, which, by the way, that's like Dragon Heart level CG for the dragon. Like, it did not look good.
No,
the CG in this.
They saved it a bit in those sequences because he's like meditating in like a spirit world, so it doesn't. Nothing in there looks photorealistic, so that saves it a little bit for me. But yeah, it doesn't look great. It didn't look horrible to me, and I excused it. I excused it, a lot of it, for the reason that I just explained. But yeah, some of the effects look totally fine, and then others not so much.
Not so much. It's not great, I'd say, even for 2010. In some places it's fine.
Had a beefcake budget.
That's wild.
$150 million.
God damn it. Oh, God damn it.
This is supposed to be a big thing. They're supposed to launch a franchise. It's a extremely popular property worldwide. It was and it still kind of did okay. Like, it made over 300 worldwide.
Yeah, I was wondering why he still was allowed to make movies.
Because they still made a little bit of money on this movie.
A little bit. Oh, this piece of shit.
Yeah.
I only felt one genuine moment of joy in this entire movie.
Lay it on me.
It's when Dev Patel shows up and angrily says, "Bring me all your elderly." It's like, what? Why? Why, Dev? What do you want? I'm not sure why he needed all the elderly, but he did. He wanted them. It's just something, I don't know. It was just a great moment in cinema.
Yeah, it's really solid. It's like minute 8 too. It's real early.
Yeah, and
it's like our introduction of the movie is him angrily demanding all of the old people.
Yeah.
I think it's something to do with. I haven't watched these episodes in a while. I think it's something to do with like what you might traditionally think, where like the elderly in the village are sort of like the historians, the history keepers,
right?
And he wants to know what the deal is. But that could even be wrong because they don't explain it in this.
They don't explain it, and that would have been a great.
Maybe he just wants to set the old people on fire to get everybody to give him what he wants. That could be it too.
As you just said, it was 8 minutes in. This is how you world build, right?
Yeah.
You say someone being real, you're elderly, and you explain why. They would want that. Or again, like, I don't know why that character hit the giant ice ball when she was told not to by her brother. I don't know. I don't know what she thought was going to happen. I don't know if they knew what they see the ice ball and they don't say, it's a so-and-so, it's a blank. Like, I don't know if this giant ice ball is common.
The only thing anyone says is Sokka says it must be a Fire Nation trick. So yeah, that's all they assume he's assuming it's dangerous. That's all we know about it.
And I don't know why she doesn't assume that.
I don't know.
I don't know. They don't explain anything.
No.
Characters just do things. It's like
I
assume that we would figure it out, but
there's a couple of moments like that. There's a couple of dialogueless exchanges. And the one that's really sticking out in my mind, but I know there was at least one or two other moments that were like this, where it's really unclear. It's when they're in the Northern Water Kingdom and Ong is learning from their old guy how to bend water, and he does like one thing pretty well, and then the old guy's like, "Okay, Ong, now do offense," and Ong starts to, and like he raises a couple of water drops in front of him, but also raises like all of the water in the fountains in the city around him, and then we see him kind of look worried, and then he drops it, and then it cuts to the old guy, and he looks worried too, and then the scene ends, and I don't know what that means.
Right, because I don't know why they thought it needed to be like an inside thing for the fan. I don't know. The part where they dramatically stab...
Real quick before you move on to a different part, I don't know that that's necessarily, the fans will get this. I think that was just a standard directing mistake.
It's like, just bad storytelling.
Right. Like, I think we were supposed to know... Or I think what was passing between those two characters was supposed to be more clear. But watching it, I'm like, I don't know if they're nervous because he looks like he's going to be too powerful, or I don't know if he can't do it, and that's why he dropped it. Like, either of those could be true, and I don't know which it is.
Because no one's explaining anything.
Like, yeah, I think that's just good old-fashioned bad storytelling, which, again...
It's wild because
he's normally better at this, Shyamalan.
People both say exactly what's on their mind in this, except for when it matters. Like, people, like, it's that idea of, like, they gained a romance off screen. It's like, just show that with, like, how they talk and act to each other. Don't tell us. Tell us the stuff that we need to know. I was going to point out the fish gods, like, he dramatically stabs a fish in this. Yeah. And everybody's like, no! And I'm like... I don't know what's at stake. You never explained it, movie.
We do know we know that that's the moon spirit.
The gods.
And we know that him killing the moon spirit is bad because right before he does it, Zuko's uncle dad, who's the character's name I can't remember at this moment, says, don't do that, it'll throw the world out of balance. Literally,
it'll kill us all.
Right before he stabs it. But that's, so we understand what the fish is, but we don't have any idea what the stakes are of killing it.
Right.
Like, I assume it's bad to stab one of the spirits, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Going back to Harry Potter, it's like, here's the Philosopher's Stone. We're going to talk about it in an early scene. So it's powerful. We don't want Voldemort to get that. And then later it's like, don't let him get that. We've established it. And this literally is seconds before. Don't stab that spirit fish. It's going to be bad. And it's like, bad how? He stabs it, the sky turns red. And I'm like, okay, what is this? What's happening? Like I couldn't tell if at first it was like, our souls will all be damned if you kill the spirit fish, or like our crops will be bad. It's bad luck for the world.
He just says the world will be out of balance. That's all we know.
Yeah, and then there's like an apocalypse guy, and it's like, okay, so I guess is something coming?
Yeah.
Is the world gonna end? And then the woman is like, I have to become the fish, and I'm like, okay, how does that fix it? And then she does, and it's like, I guess that fixed it. Whatever that was. Like, I don't even know what was at stake. You never explained it. It's a lot of like, okay, very literally tell me what's going on. And then on top of that, they're doing their tender goodbyes while she turns into a fish. And it's like, I barely know you two. I don't care.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, just fuck the fish, right? She's just a fish.
No law
now.
against it.
No law. Well, maybe there is. We don't know about anything about this world.
There is no law against it, Dave.
Yeah.
I've checked.
Just fuck the fish.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
Fuck that fish.
Fuck that fish. I don't know, man. I got nothing else.
I don't really have much else either, other than the fact that this movie is frustrating from the perspective of watching, it's like watching bad stand-up where you're like, oh, God, I hate to watch this. Like, it's just, the storytelling is so bad that it's frustrating to watch.
Yeah, there is one other thing that this movie got some shit for. A lot of the cast is whitewashed.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering about that, because I didn't know anything about the original cartoon, but watching this, I was like, this feels whitewashed.
Yeah, I don't...
A lot of honkies.
There's a lot of honkies that weren't honkies in the show. Like, Katara and Sokka are not white on the show. I'm not entirely sure what ethnicity they're supposed to be. I think
it looks
I think maybe Inuit, because they're... I think that's what
Inuit.
it is in the show.
It's East... Let's see. An Inuit...
They're not white, sorry, is the point.
Yeah, there's a whole Wikipedia section about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just read that.
Inuit characters. Because this was... Hana was telling me this was made in Canada.
Sure.
But I think in the cartoon, yeah, they're supposed to be like Asian and Inuit. The only characters that like aren't like white that they cast was the evil Fire
the bad
Nation.
Guys.
Yeah, and I was like, that's weird, isn't it?
And there's Cliff Curtis. I think we've talked about this on previous episodes, but Cliff Curtis has like a Tony Shalhoub streak in his career where they just have him play whatever ethnicity.
Yeah.
It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. He's like the face of God. He's everyone.
He's just everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a Hispanic gangster in Training Day. He's a Middle Eastern terrorist in Collateral Damage. Yeah. He's The Rock's brother in Hobbs and Shaw.
And we're all completely okay with this.
Yeah, because he's great.
Yeah, it's very funny how we're all like, sure.
Yeah, that's...
By the way, he's New Zealand.
Yes. Yeah, he's Maori, I believe.
Yeah.
Hope I'm saying that right.
I don't know, man. But it's boy. And then, of course, coincidentally, it's also all the good actors. I was going to mention that earlier. I think they're all newbies. Like, I think the Fire Nation, in addition to having the best actors, has the only people who had acted before, I think. Yeah. Like, I feel like, I think Aang had never acted before. I don't know if the Katara or Sokka had, but boy, they seemed green. They really did. Unless, well, here's the thing. Nobody was doing their best. No. It felt like everybody was, I felt it was like, M. Night Shyamalan in between takes would cut and go smaller. They're so well, and it's like there's smaller. Also like that's what it felt like is they were told like specifically to act bad. Noah Ringer is the Airbender. He apparently was in Cowboys and Aliens. Yeah, that's it for him. He's a little. This one. I was like, well, I guess like I think the reason they cast him is because he's actually a little karate boy. Like he can do all that shit. And if you notice in the movie, he's doing all this shit. So I think that's a big reason why he got cast. And it wasn't, hopefully wasn't just them being like, well,
obviously we have to cast a white kid as the lead.
Well, this is tough because I actually also legitimately felt bad. I remember watching Slumdog Millionaire and seeing Dev Patel and being like, this guy's going to go places. And then I saw he was in The Last Airbender and I was like, oh, good for him. This is career. Here we go. And then I saw this and I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. And it felt like his career did stall briefly.
It did for a bit.
He had to do Lion, and it was like he had to do over. He'd like, all right,
it was like
back to doing an indie hit. Here we go.
Yeah,
Lion.
I feel like he had a weird transition from late teens, young adult to like full adult roles. Like there was like a 5-6 year period where he just wasn't in much. I feel like that was the case.
Right, and it feels like this did it. I don't know. I hope
maybe
it's like, imagine if this movie single-handedly like got rid of Dev Patel's career. That would have been such a travesty.
Yeah, that was some bullshit.
Yeah, he had to like reprove himself, it felt like. And that's, yeah, he did. Oh, yeah, man. He did not do much. He did Chappie. He was in Chappie.
That's right. He is in Chappie.
He's in Wes Anderson's next film. I just discovered this.
Oh, yeah, that checks out.
The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, based off a fucking Roald Dahl. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
With Benedict Cumberbatch.
Fuck
this
yes.
is going to be the most twee film ever made.
I don't care. I want to see it.
Yeah, me too. But oh my God, it's going to be twee.
Yeah, Dev Patel in a Wes Anderson adaptation of a Roald Dahl book. Yes. He's a perfect fit.
With Benedict Cumberbatch.
With fucking Benedict Cumberbatch, of course.
Ray Fiennes.
Jesus
Holy
Christ.
Shit.
Yeah.
And Ben Kingsley. What a
fucking
film.
hell. Yes. I want
can't
that
wait
movie.
For that.
There's one line of dialogue I wanted to call out because I think another problem. Well, obviously, we're just, guessing. It's complete conjecture about how Shyamalan directed these actors. But, like, the dialogue we can point out. There's one line where Princess Yue says, we have to prove to the Fire Nation that we believe in our beliefs as strong as they believe in theirs. And I'm like, boy, can we put the word belief in a single sentence 3 times?
That's amazing.
Like, there's so many lines of dialogue like that. I'm like, this dialogue is bad.
Yeah, it really comes down to this about, so again, to the fans of this series, it must be devastating. For me, someone who has nothing at stake here, I don't dislike the series. I just haven't watched it, and it's just not something, I'm not avoiding it, but you get me. I'm neutral.
Yeah.
Watching this movie for me is profoundly frustrating because it seems to fail in so many ways that it's almost like it went out of its way to fail. It's like M. Night Shyamalan purposefully through the movie. Like he was paid to take a dive.
There is
that's what it feels like.
Yeah, there's a significant issue in the ending.
Right.
The ending the ending of this movie is fucking weird. But yeah, go ahead, finish what you were saying.
Oh no, you're right. M. Night Shyamalan isn't. He knows how to make a good film.
Yes.
I would argue he is not a good writer.
No,
I would argue
he's not
a bad writer.
He's not. But I mean, that's at the very least that's his weak point, I think.
Right. But as a director, just knowing what a good shot is, like that alone, just knowing that movies need humor. His movies have humor in them. Knowing basic things like that, this is beneath him.
Yeah, it is.
This is like, I can't believe you made it this bad.
Yeah. He's made more. I think he's made more good movies than bad ones. Like he's. We give him a lot of shit, but he's got some fucking bangers in his filmography. And then he cranks out stuff like this. I wanted to talk about the ending real quick. The ending is fascinating and frustrating to me because so you remember how this movie ends is he like lifts the ocean up to repel Fire Nation. And they sail away, and then everybody kneels to him, including Ong and Katara, and they're like, we now worship you, our avatar. That's fucking weird, and that doesn't happen in the show, and at least not as far as I remember. But more so than that weird kneeling ending, which I thought was that's like the end of the movie, and it's weirdly out of tone.
And
then
he makes this he makes this like weird face, and then it ends.
Right, he makes this face like he's scared, and then he like kind of makes a cool face and does a cool pose, and then it ends. Like, that's fucking weird. That's not the tone of this movie at all. Like, he's their ruler now.
That would all make sense if they had set it up.
Yeah.
If there was like this undying loyalty to the one, and the idea was like they were like, you're not him, and then at the end it's like, you are him. That would make sense. But you're right, never set up that devotion.
Yeah,
that they show suddenly.
Well, and he's like supposed to be more of a messianic figure, and it's like in the sense that, I mean, obviously tons of people worship messianic figures, but the idea, at least the way that I interpreted it, apologies to fans of the show if I'm getting this super duper wrong, he's not like, you're not supposed to worship him like a king. Like, that's not the point. Like, he's the avatar of all these, spirits, so he's supposed to like maintain order and balance. You're not supposed to like worship him like the emperor. That's weird. That's weird for the weird thing to do to these characters. But the climax really ruins a big part of the story of Aang's storyline, because in the show, he's, as I explained, he's still very much a little kid, and he's being silly and irreverent most of the time, and he has to sort of be convinced to take things seriously and be an adult. So what he does in that scene in the show is he fucking kills all of those Fire Nation people. He drops the ocean on them.
Ooh.
And that fucks with him.
Right. That's more complex.
Yes, it is, isn't it, Dave?
Right. But, all right. So I get why they wouldn't. So here's the thing. That move, that idea, what you just pointed out, because when that scene happens, I was thinking, oh my God, is he going to kill them all? And here's what I'll say is that with the movie I had just watched, if he had killed them all, it would have been even worse.
That would have been weird, yeah.
Yeah, because they didn't do any of the work.
They didn't do any of the work to make, because he's incredibly humorless and totally serious from jump. I think he cracks one joke.
Right, and so there was no...
And he doesn't smile for the entire movie.
Yeah, in the movie I was watching, they couldn't do that. Maybe in a different movie that was more complex, they could have, but yeah. Because that was exactly... they had this heroic music and shit during that scene, and I was like, he's not going to kill them all to this heroic music, is he? Yeah, that's wild. See, that is how you would do a cliffhanger. Although... that would have happened that should have happened like 6 movies in as well. Like, that should have happened at the dark moment of the series. I assume that's what happened with the show, right?
Yeah, that's the end. That's the end of the first book.
Exactly.
Or the first season.
Yeah, so man, what a shitty adaptation. The fact that wave is supposed to be the end of a season, and we see it 90 minutes into this shitty movie. What a nightmare. What a fucking nightmare that is for fans of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I can't even begin to imagine the disappointment. That is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a piece of shit.
It's a real, really sucks.
Really sucks. I'm never watching this movie again.
No, nor should you, I don't think.
Yeah. I watched it once, when it came out, and that was... So maybe I'll watch it again in 10 more years. Maybe, but probably not. It's a real piece of shit. All right, are we done?
I think so, man. I don't know. Did we have any more sections?
I have nothing else to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, unlike the last episode where we think Hulk was a much better adaptation than it got credit for, and it's only gotten better as a film as time has gone on. This is the precise opposite in this situation.
Exact opposite.
This got
exact opposite.
Just about everything about adapting Avatar: Last Airbender wrong, and it has aged horribly.
Yep. Bad movie.
It's a bad movie. It's a real piece of shit. Yeah. Real piece of shit.
Well, Grumblebee, I assume this is what you wanted, you maniac, you sick fuck, because this is you know, you wanted to hurt us, and you did.
We're in pain.
Congratulations.
We're suffering.
Yeah,
now.
we're in pain. Congratulations. Sleep well tonight. Thank you so much for being our producer, and thanks everybody for listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
And
hopefully, I sincerely apologize for any details about Avatar I got wrong. I've seen the first season of episodes. I've really enjoyed what I've seen, but I've only seen it once, and it's been about a year, so my memory is a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
So
sorry
if I got some details wrong.
I don't apologize, and I actually take back your apology.
Oh, okay.
Because you know what? What the fuck, guys? Why would you get so mad that we get the detail of a show wrong?
Because the premise of this show is to discuss why this film is a poor adaptation of the source material. So,
well, that's definitely an answer that makes a lot of sense.
Part of our good faith contribution is being somewhat familiar with the source material.
I mean, I already called this, and
That's
I'm
true.
going to say it again.
You did.
I will not be familiar with most of the adaptations we cover, the source material. That's okay. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Should I tell them about... I'm going to tell you guys about our Patreon.
Tell them about our Patreon.
Listen, we have a Patreon. Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. If you go on there, you find exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys. Those are all on there. They're all for $5 a month. For $10 a month, we watch movies with our patrons every Friday night. We watched Moonfall recently.
Oh, fuck yeah, we did.
Yeah.
The moon, it fell, you guys.
Yeah, which is a perfect adaptation of the Bible.
Yeah.
And then, we have tiers where you can produce your own podcast, like the one you're listening to right now. So check it out.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed.
We also have a store. Go ahead and fucking airbend your way over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store. We have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts and stickers and posters and junk. Check it out.
Yeah.
Slap your peeps on it.
Watch the Last Airbender movie, folks.
The motion picture event of the summer of 2010.
Oh wait, I think all right. Either watch it or don't. I forget what we landed on.
It was one of the two. Definitely watch it was in there.
Yeah,
it was two of the three words.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.